Well, ever since the University of Minnesota cut ties with the Minneapolis Police Department, there's been a spike in reported violent crimes listed on the alert system visible to students. Here to talk about this more is campus reform correspondent and student at the University of Minnesota, Alyssa Rinelli. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So in the days following George Floyd's death, the University of Minnesota announced it was cutting ties with the Minneapolis Police Department. But in the month after cutting ties with police, the university listed 6 violent crimes compared to 7 violent crimes in the 6 months before that. As a student at the University of Minnesota, what's your reaction to all of this?
This clear trend of an increase in violence after cutting ties with the Minneapolis Police Department makes me incredibly anxious as a student to return back to campus this coming fall. Studies have clearly shown that when you remove police from high crime areas, crime goes up. And that trend has continued at the University of Minnesota. Of the 6 crimes that you mentioned, this includes such as someone was assaulted by 4 men and had their car stolen, and someone was robbed at gunpoint. I think this would make any student anxious about returning to a school that so far has done nothing in response to this surge in crime.
And it seems like it was a knee-jerk reaction on their part. You point out how the University of Minnesota preaches the importance of mental health awareness and funding mental health resources, but the university is disregarding studies showing that a fear of crime is associated with poor mental health. Have you or other students brought that up to officials at the University of Minnesota?
Yeah, the University of Minnesota should be aware of the fact that a fear in crime is associated with poorer mental health. The study that you mentioned has contributors that come from the Center of Epidemiology and Public Health, an institute that has been in the public spotlight lately as universities look to them to open amid the COVID crisis. Like I mentioned, I'm already nervous about going back to campus this upcoming fall. I know that other students are as well, and so are families. My parents are aware of the situation, and they have told me that they don't want me going back to campus because they fear for my safety. I can't imagine the anxiety that parents may feel as well if this news comes to light after they've sent their student back to campus.
Has the University of Minnesota told you or students how they plan to keep students safe without the presence of the Minneapolis Police Department?
Yeah, I asked the University of Minnesota the same question, and I'm still waiting to hear a real response for them. This is really a clear indication by the University of Minnesota that they're more interested in protecting their image of social justice than protecting the students on campus. They haven't done anything, and I'd ask them to really look at the facts and face the reality of the situation and answer these questions. I'd ask them to make a clear statement publicly that the University of Minnesota does not tolerate this type of violence and reinstate their relationship publicly with the Minneapolis Police Department.
And lastly, I know you're going into your senior year at the University of Minnesota. Do you think that this policy that they have in place, it's going to set precedent for other colleges to follow suit in an effort to conform, essentially?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the trends across the United States right now, and Leadership Institute's campus reform does a great job highlighting this, basically of universities virtue signaling to the public that they are the most socially justice and the most virtuous university on campus. The University of Minnesota, definitely started a trend that is ultimately going to have the greatest effect on students and their safety. Really, for the reality of what they are doing is protecting their image, as many universities are doing throughout the U.S. I hope that the university instead takes a stance against this violence and that other universities follow as well.
We'll have to see what happens. Alyssa Rinelli, again, campus reform correspondent and student at the University of Minnesota. Thank you again for your time.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.